I'm Elise Chaffins, and today I'm joined by Adam Finberg, the writer and director of the new film Star People, coming to select theaters on July 25th and video on demand on August 12th. Thank you so much for joining me today, Adam.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Can you give us just a quick synopsis of the film, just for people to kind of know what's coming up?
Oh, I know what's coming up. Sure. Well, Star People is about a photographer obsessed with solving a UFO mystery from her childhood, who ends up facing a desert heat wave, her troubled brother, and a migrant crisis, forcing her to confront her past and reconnect with what matters most.
Yeah, yeah. So obviously the big selling point for Star People is the Phoenix Lights and that whole phenomenon. But I really love how this film delves into addiction a good bit. Can you talk about why you wanted to include that aspect into the story?
Sure. Um, so I directed a documentary about 10 years ago called The Business of Recovery. And it was a feature film about the addiction treatment industry. And during that time, it took a couple years to shoot the film. I traveled the country a bit and I got to meet a variety of people who were in the midst of an addiction crisis or substance abuse problems, one way or the other. And I learned a lot about the psychology of change and about how people process trauma. Some of the people I met and talked with unfortunately passed away during the filming. And then after we were even done with the film, there were several more that passed from their own, drugs or alcohol related deaths. And it always kind of haunted me, and it always had really influenced me in terms of my writing and also my understanding of character. And as I developed this, I was always interested in the Phoenix Lights because I had grown up in Phoenix, and it was this mystery. I knew people that had seen them, and it had always fascinated me. But I also knew as I was developing the characters that I felt this draw towards what I had learned in making of the documentary some years ago, and so that was, I guess, how the addiction element came into the film.
Yeah, definitely. I really appreciate the way the film uses UFOs and aliens to kind of explore other areas of otherness. Can you talk about kind of weaving those themes together through the film?
Sure. I think for me, good storytelling has to have a purpose and a thematic reason for why you're telling a story. And there's kind of the outward parts of it. And for me, science fiction, the best science fiction has those two levels. Like E.T. obviously was very successful. It wasn't because it wasn't just about the alien. It was about these relationships and about growth. And about life and death. I mean, some of the best movies touch on the ideas of life and death. And so, from a science fiction standpoint, I had to delve into characters that took us on this journey, and I wanted the science fiction element or the lights element to be what kind of brought us in, but then ultimately had to be the characters that took us to the end, to the finish line in it. So I guess that was the best way to describe how I was trying to weave it. And then as you go, you keep stacking on layers about, how do we get deeper with this? Like it couldn't be surface. It couldn't just be about the lights at the end. It had to be about some sort of real human problem and growth.
Yeah, yeah. And this feels like a very timely movie in the way that it deals with I guess the immigration aspect of it. Can you talk about just that, working with that as well?
Yeah, I mean, the film, the story, I mean, I started writing it several years ago, so it wasn't like I just wrote this yesterday,
Right. Yeah.
but people may watch it and just assume that, but I I think for me, the idea of demonizing those that feel different from us always sort of bothered me, and the idea of the other being whether it's aliens in space or people that we don't know or that look different from us, these kinds of things are important. I think important themes as a storyteller for me. I mean, things that move me. And it just, as I was developing it, these kind of ideas just seemed to kind of like find each other, I guess. I mean, being in Arizona, it is very close to the border, and this isn't, even if it hasn't been over the news, it's still there's there were still people dying in the desert, people traveling, people risking everything, and good people that are just trying to make a better life. And these things just they just seemed to meet as I was developing the story. It just seemed to make sense for me, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. So, kind of shifting topics a little bit, can you talk about the filming locations and was it as hot filming where you did as it is in in
It
Star
looks hot,
People?
right? Yeah.
Yeah, it
Well, we
looks
only
like it.
there were only two very small windows we could film because it would either be too hot or too cold to do what we wanted to do. It's either in the fall, right as we go between the seasons, or in the spring, right before we get to summer. So we shot in the spring. It was end of April to beginning of May, and it was not as hot as it looked. In fact, there were a couple nights where I think I had long pants on because you know how it drops quite a bit in the desert. But it was hot some days. I mean, but really, my props are to the to our makeup team as well as our talent there for doing a great job of selling the heat. Because it was always its own sort of character, the desert and the heat, and it had to always be present in anything in every scene that we worked on.
Yeah.
But we shot a lot of this, and as far as locations, though, was that part of what you asked to where we shot?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
A lot. The exterior stuff was in the Superstition Mountains, at a ranch called the Quarter Circle U Ranch out off the 60. It was like a deep in the. It was about 8 miles off down a dirt road in a off the grid, bumpy road. But we had all this space to ourselves in this beautiful canyon that we could film at. And then some of it was also at South Mountain Park, just south of downtown Phoenix, which was also this huge desert park that's not far from it's right by the city, but you can't see the city, so that was useful.
Nice, nice. Yeah. So as you go through and you write a script and then you come at it as a director, what kind of changes do you feel like happen between the writing and then actually seeing it take place in front of you?
Oh, it's such a cool experience because you don't know exactly what you're going to get. I mean, I did an intense amount of planning. I mean, we built visual decks, and me and my cinematographer Aiden Chaperone, we worked very hard on defining the visual language of the film. But when you start actually getting out there with real people in the real space, you have to have flexibility to let real moments happen and embrace them and let the film become kind of what it wants to be as you create it. Because as much as people think a director's now has, you don't have control over as much as you think you do. It's really, I mean, I approached my job more to just help the people around me be as good as they could be, help my talent be vulnerable in front of the camera, help motivate all the other creative people around me to do the best jobs they could do to get the best product, the best story at the end. And even through post, I mean, you just don't exactly know. Even though we would storyboard things and we'd plan things, it's kind of a process of discovery, I guess you could say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So just as we kind of wrap up here, what would be the main like takeaway that you would hope an audience would have after seeing this film?
The main takeaway, I think that the idea of human connectedness is present in everyone's life, and I would say, in an increasingly disconnected world where we might feel digitally connected, we still need to have human relationships in order to thrive and grow. And the search for life, in a lot of ways, is a lot simpler. It's more of a search for connection, and it's not as far away as it might seem.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the film and just best of luck with it going forward.
Thanks, Elise. Great to chat with you.
You too.